and welcome back to the Sala. Very cozy, comfortable Sala, I might add. Today I am with Athena Colon. Athena is a film, television, and stage actress from New York City. She's also a teaching artist working with inner city youth, giving them the tools to use their art as a platform to create socially conscious theater. She's an inspirational powerhouse, and I can't wait for you to hear her story. So, Athena, thank you for joining us today in the Sala.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too.
Yes. So, Athena, I want to start out, and I want you to just tell me about your upbringing and, what was home like for you? What was that like?
Home was a good place. Home was a great place. I grew up with my mother, my grandparents, and two of my cousins. And it was your typical Puerto Rican household, great food, great music, a lot of culture. I grew up with salsa. And I'm actually an only child. So although I had all this family around me, I had a really big imagination. And that was really nurtured by my mom. Like I had two imaginary friends, Lulu and Kool-Aid. And I remember my mom, I used to tell her, Mom, we need place settings at the table for Lulu and Kool-Aid. And she would do it. So that was kind of the way I functioned. I was able to function in my own little world, but still being nurtured and supported by my mom.
Did that lead you into acting?
I think it has a big part. I think having that imagination had a really big part to my acting. I mean, my first experience with a play, I was 10 years old, and I grew up in Catholic school, right? So there was no art in Catholic school. But we had a really special project, and they hired a playwright and a director to come and work with us. And there were auditions, and I was like, I want to do it. So I did it, and I didn't get cast as the lead, and I was so disappointed. I was all like, no! Two of my best friends got cast as the lead. But I got cast as like the big mama dodo bird. And I had a monologue by myself on stage with feathers, blue feathers, and a big beak. And I said, this is not... I was 10,
Yeah.
You're about to become like a preteen, 11, 12.
This is not
what I thought acting was going to be. But I got on stage, I did the monologue, and I made the audience laugh. And I was like, oh, this is powerful. I said, I could manipulate. I could tell people how to feel based on what I do. And I fell in love. And I remember, my mom remembers, she goes, you came home that day and you were like, I want to do this forever. And I did, and but because my mom supported me so much, I was able to continue and go to different programs to do that.
That point that you say that when you recognize you were able to manipulate the audience, and I know that that's not coming from a place of like, I'm going to put some mind tricks on you guys, but you recognize that there's a power there. What do you hope to elicit through your acting? Like, what is the force that you hope that people will feel from your experiences on stage or behind the camera, or in front of the camera, rather?
We got deep real quick.
Well, yeah, you took it there.
Sorry.
1 second.
No, but because it's incredible how, from a young age, I feel like there's seeds that are planted. And it's, sometimes they get nourished. Sometimes they don't sprout until we're a little older. But my seed was very clear. And that reaction from the audience was reciprocal. I was dancing. I was dancing with the audience. I was able to feel their energy, and they were able to feel me. And we went on a journey together through that play. I was the big mama dodo bird. I made them laugh. But it was an environmental play. So we had a point to the laughter. And for me, that's always important, is being able to generate a kind of energy where you feel relatable to the character, where you feel like the person I'm portraying is a very real character, but at the same time, we're going to learn something together. No one's right, no one's wrong, but we're just open to the possibilities. So that for me is really important. I want to always, it's acting, but I always want to dance. I always want to feel fluid in that way.
And it'll be an exchange.
An exchange, yeah.
I like that.
Of energy.
So at what point from the dodo bird to now...
I love it. That's a point. I know, right? It's a point.
That is a pivotal point in your life.
It is. It started with a dodo.
It started with the dodo and some feathers.
And some feathers.
How has this journey been from the dodo bird to right now?
The journey's been a journey, to say the least. It went from dodo bird to playing to... I was in a program called City Lights Youth Theater. That was my first real program for acting, for young actors. Went into Henry Street Settlement Urban Youth Theater, and that's like home. That was in the LES. I grew up with artists. And then I became a teenager and I wanted a boyfriend. And I was like, I ain't got time for a boyfriend if all I'm doing is going to acting. You know, if I'm going to rehearsal every weekend and after school. So I stopped. I got a boyfriend. It was terrible. No, it was because I thought that's exactly what I needed. Because it made me realize I miss it.
Right.
And I went to go study it. I went to college. I studied acting at CW Post, Long Island University. There was 25 incoming freshmen that got accepted into the theater program. We auditioned, we got in. I graduated with 6 people.
Wow.
So,
why do you think that is?
Just, I think people fall in love with the idea of what is acting. They fall in love with the fame, the glory, the after effects. I think, like any business, you have to work at it. You have to put a lot of energy into it. It actually is really meticulous, the writing, the research. I mean, I have binders that I still have from my production labs of like research, character research, research about the playwright. You can't hack that. All of a sudden, you go through these 4 years and then you end up with a very small but passionate class. Which is interesting to me because I think I'm understanding that that's being reflected in my business even now. Of like the people that I've been around, I'm like, wow, this is not for everybody, and that's okay too, but you got to work just as hard.
Right. And so do you think at the very beginning people don't understand that you need an insane work ethic? I just read a quote the other day, like people always think following your dreams, it means like sitting on the couch and just waiting for something to hit you.
Let's wait.
Right? We will be here.
We're still waiting.
Just watch the plan, bro.
I know. That plan will continue to grow. We still be waiting here.
It's actually insanely hard. It takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
And persistence.
Yeah. But that's the beautiful thing about it. That's where the reward, I mean, I remember, so we're talking about journey. After college, I did Mary Kay. I became a Mary Kay consultant, right? Because you gotta find yourself, right? So that was my first opportunity. But it's interesting because I still had to engage with people. I still was selling a product. I was still presenting in some form. And one of the things about that was it was very business oriented. And they said, you're gonna hear more no's than yeses in this business. And that was for makeup, but that stuck with me. Because I said, you're going to hear more no's than yeses. What does that mean? Translating that into an acting career, 80% of my business is auditioning. 80% of the time, I ain't going to book.
Yeah.
But I'm going to build a relationship with that casting director.
But how do you deal with that rejection?
Understand it's not personal. That's hard. I'm still going through that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, but I was perfect.
Right.
And you're like, no, it's okay. Just an understanding that everything happens for a reason. And it's all good. You continue on your hustle. You continue on your path. And something is bound to open up. Maybe not when you want. Maybe not when you anticipate. Maybe not the way you planned it in your head. But, I mean, I feel like I'm living proof of that to be able to stay consistently on the same path. Acting is the most consistent thing in my life. It's that straight up through all of my ups and downs, being a teenager, graduating college, finding myself, not knowing in which direction I was going. I've always come back to acting.
It's the string.
There you go. That's home, and understanding that everything has its time.
I like what you said about the communities that you have built. And how at a very young age, those were instrumental in allowing you to feel free and creative and open. So let's talk a bit about like how important community is. If you find in the Latino arts community, like is there a different relationship with artists and actors than maybe if you step outside of that community?
It's beautiful. I just actually was speaking to somebody and we were talking about the theater. And I said, my word was, theater has so much ensemble. And they were like, theater has community. I grew up in the theater. I grew up around community. I used to perform at the Intar Theater. And we used to do, it had a Latino influence, and growing up around that felt really safe. So it's no surprise upon graduating college, and then being expected to survive in the business, I was looking for community. I mean, we always do that, right? Because we always look to be loved. We always look to be accepted. We always look for our niche. I don't care.
Nurtured. You need to be nurtured. Especially like this. You get rejected, who's going to hug me first?
Right.
Tell me it's okay.
Right. No, but that's interesting because, you know, we talk about upbringing. My family, I came from a supportive home. You know, even if my grandmother may not have understood every single role I was doing, but she was like, "Tu vas para el teatro?" Good. And she was there. She may not have understood it, but they were there. And I think, you know, I got spoiled. That's what made it really difficult to say, okay, I'm going to keep pursuing this professionally, because while you don't have that nurturing, I think it's not from everyone. Like, you're not going to have the casting director go, "I'm sorry, mommy, you didn't do this. You didn't, you know, but you were fabulous." That's not going to happen. But you have, for me, what I found is my husband, he's my support. You know, he'll give me that. My mom, still to this day, my circle of friends is very small, but on purpose. You know, you need people who are going to celebrate your glories and are going to hold you up when things get tough, because things are going to get tough. But you need that.
And what do you do? Because there's the nurturing and that sense of connectedness, but then at the same time, there's a competitiveness in this industry. So now how do you combat that negative energy and say, you know what, I'm not going to go there? Or do you sometimes find yourself in that space of being sometimes just competitive with yourself or competitive with other people?
Ooh, where I'm at in my life right now is trying to find that sense of play, even though it's a competition. And I don't even want to look at it as a competition. I mean, I think every particular role is for a particular person, but you need a bit of spark. You need a bit of hunger to be able to survive. Yeah. You need to be hungry for it.
No, absolutely. But that for me becomes ambition, right? You need to have that insane drive, that ambition. But then I find the competition comes, and that's more so like an outside influence. And those are those outside voices. So I like what you said about your circle being really small. Those voices, though, that say, well, why didn't you get that part? You were perfect for that part, you know? And then it becomes, you go into casting rooms and all of a sudden the girls are not talking to you. You can sense that there's a sense of cattiness. So how do you avoid that sort of conversation in your head, in your space, and not allow that to be a part of, like, your makeup?
Right. No, absolutely. You know, it's interesting because that's a very human condition. Like, I think that's judgment, right? We all do it. I don't care who you are. I don't care what business. We are sold on images. So upon looking at somebody, you immediately try to categorize them. Okay, who are they? What do they look like? What do they bring to the table? Oh, she's, you know, she has this. I don't have this. And then we start comparing. And what does that do? That becomes an ego trip. And all of a sudden, you're putting yourself in not a really good place to be able to do your job. And I think specifically in the audition waiting area. I tend to celebrate victories for other people. You know, look at Jane the Virgin, Gina Rodriguez, okay? I auditioned for that role. And it's interesting because watching her, I've been tracking her interviews, and I'm like, yes. Yeah. Yes, you were meant for this. The way she talks about Latino culture, the way she talks about being very specific about which roles she's gonna take and that they're not stereotypical, right? She's earned that. She's gone through her journey. This is a point, and for me, as another Latina, as somebody, as an artist, I wanna celebrate that. For me, I'm like, we're, as a collective, as a culture, we're making progress. You know, and that for me is key. It's not about, I didn't get the role. No, I'm gonna get mine when it's time for me to get mine. But until then, I have a lot to learn. And that's what keeps me hungry. And that, for me, what keeps me in check. Because the minute I start riding my cloud, and something's going to throw my ass right back down and ground me. And I'd rather ground me first. And I think because I have such a small group, my husband, my dearest friends, they bring me back. Got it, yeah.
You give me chills.
No, pero es verdad.
seriously?
Pero es verdad. Es verdad.
And I love the idea of celebrating other people because,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things that I heard, what you should do with someone, like say you have had a bad experience with someone. And for me, I'm like all about prayer, right? So it's like, pray that that person receives the blessings that you want to receive so that you can find a way to move past that anger and frustration. And because at the end of the day, holding on to anger against another person is really destroying yourself more than it's destroying that person, you know? So I love it because it's like you're throwing your blessings and your great vibrations and energy out to people. And I am a firm believer that whatever you're throwing back is just going to come right back to you. So I hope then that you're feeling that the universe is throwing back blessings and great vibrations.
Absolutely.
And, you know, celebratory notes right back to you.
Absolutely. Because I think that's the balance. That's how you stay level-headed and, you know, things get disappointing, but I'm learning this. This is new for me. You know, I wasn't just like born with this. You know, the things that we encounter as adults and like the judgment stuff, we've been experiencing them, you know, for our whole lives. And I feel like I've just consciously made a choice to say, let's try a different way. Getting angry hasn't helped. Talking caca hasn't helped.
Yeah.
You know, what else can I do? Well, why don't we try love? Why don't we try celebrating?
So what do you feel ultimately defines success for you?
Preparation. Preparation. When an opportunity meets someone who's prepared, that's success. Period. I don't care if it's your first time doing a play off Broadway. You know what I'm saying?
High school.
In your high school. You know, that doesn't matter, but you're prepared. So when that opportunity comes up, I don't care if you're performing on a subway car. Success. You're sharing your story. You're sharing your passion. I try not to measure success with money or fame, because that, honestly, more money, more problems. It just, sometimes it feels false, and at the end of the day, all you have is yourself and what you really love. And one of my other mentors told me that when an opportunity meets someone who's prepared, ain't nothing but success.
So then by those standards, are you successful?
I would think so.
That feels good.
Hell yeah. And you know what's funny? You don't know it until someone reflects it. Right? That judgmental, I still got to do this. Even having this interview, I'm like, I still have to do this. And it's interesting that it's the people who you can relate to that are your mirror, your reflection to tell you, so you are successful. And I damn well feel that. I'm still in my craft. I teach. I'm a teaching artist. I teach all over New York City. And I pride myself in teaching social dynamic theater. For me, young people are so hungry to share their stories that I'm actually really excited that I'm in the loop with these young people. I'm like, y'all keeping me savvy. Y'all letting me know, because they're ready. They're so ready.
And it's come full circle for you.
Yeah.
So you got a couple more circles to do.
Just a little bit more laps.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you. This is awesome.
You. Yes.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. And thank you guys for joining us in the Sala. I hope you are just as inspired and pumped as I am, because this was amazing. So we're sending you good vibrations and energy, because that's all I'm feeling right here. Bye.